This story follows the life of Edward De Vere, believed by some as the true author of the writings of William Shakespeare.
Writer of 37 plays, 154 sonnets.
As the illegitimate child of Queen Elizabeth, Edward's talents are kept a secret during her succession and the Essex Rebellion against her.
Promise me you'll keep our secret safe.
As royal troops set fire to the Globe Theatre, the truth about the world's greatest playwright is uncovered in Anonymous.
Anonymous. We've all just seen it. Who wants to start?
This movie is the winter of my discontent. I wish that they had resurrected Shakespeare to come back and do a rewrite on this movie, because it is so all over the place. It's just layers upon layers of plot, and it never finds itself. It never finds its center. It's got a nice opening. It's got Sir Derek Jacobi, who's a big Shakespeare thespian who takes a stage in New York City to introduce this plot of intrigue. We're going to tell you about the real Shakespeare and the story associated with him. And then what do? We go back to the time of Shakespeare, but it's actually not the time of Shakespeare, it's 5 years before, so we have to flash back 5 years ago, only to then flash back 40 years ago, then to intercut between 40 years ago and 5 years ago, only then to go 5 years forward to wind up back with Derek Jacobi. I was completely lost throughout the entire picture.
I loved this movie, and yes, there's a lot of plot in this movie, but it never gets bigger than the characters. The writers and the director wistfully interweaved all the story. We see the inner life of not only Shakespeare, but the people who are really important in his life.
Though I did enjoy this film, I did take issue with a few things. I would say number one, the most prominent thing, is this treatment of William Shakespeare. Our best pal, Billy Shakes, is given the fuzzy end of the lollipop because he's treated like a fame whore, money-grubbing alcoholic, and I'm a little protective of Mr. Shakespeare.
It's not about him. He's the person who's helping out the real Shakespeare.
That's a major problem.
Why is that a major problem?
Well,
it's story. This is a dramatized version of what the Shakespeare story is.
It doesn't work. And you've got Shakespeare, first off, as an inconsistent character. At times he's kind of this bumbling idiot. Other times he's very ruthless in the way he gets his money. He can't even write anything. Give the movie a credible person who can even attempt to write plays. This guy wouldn't be able to write See Spot Run.
Two of the most famous characters in British history, one of the most famous writers of all time, and Queen Elizabeth, and it insinuates a shocking romantic relationship between the two of them.
It's so juicy, though. I mean, when it's happening, you're just like, oh, yes.
And I was looking at my watch most of the time. I was watching this. You can't follow it. There's too much going on.
What didn't help that along was the casting. For the most part, you have two actors playing each role, and I think that becomes very confusing. And even with a 40-year time barrier between the characters of the past and the characters that are contemporary, I lose track because there's a history to follow, there's these interpersonal, really dramatic stories that you have to follow, and then now you have two actors to follow.
Comedy or tragedy?
Comedy, Majesty.
Comedy? By whom?
By Anonymous, Your Majesty.
Anonymous. I so admire his verse.
Of the actors, she's the only one who really brings energy to her scenes. Everyone else is just there.
You didn't like Rhys Ifans? I thought he had this quiet longing on his face.
Wonderful.
There was just so much anguish.
And Jolie Richardson, that was a brilliant piece of casting, to cast a mother and daughter for an older Queen Elizabeth and younger Queen Elizabeth. That one I could follow because there's a familial connection between the two.
I enjoyed the character of Ben Jonson. The actor, Sebastian Armesto, did a very good job playing this character who had so much anguish. He had so much respect for this guy, Shakespeare, but then at the end of the day, he hated him because he wanted to be like that.
I thought the performances are what sold it for me. I completely agree. That's what kept me going, and I think it's some of the strongest performances I've seen actually this year. And I'm surprised to say that considering it's a Roland Emmerich film. What did you think about the directing?
I think that this is clearly Roland Emmerich's attempt to get away from the global disaster films, but he's made another global disaster film with Anonymous.
Hey.
How do you think it ends? No doubt tragically.
I don't think he can handle the tone. He probably read every textbook he could find on this time and every single plot that was going on and decided, I'm gonna put them all in this movie to make it seem authentic as possible. Every single poster that is out there for this movie has a tagline on it that says, "Is Shakespeare a fraud?" If you're gonna put that tagline on the poster, you have to create a movie that's gonna analyze that question. And it doesn't ask that question, it answers it immediately.
And I think they did it well.
Well, you put a different tagline on your poster then. You say, Shakespeare was a fraud, we're gonna tell you the real story.
But you know, they gotta sell tickets.
I don't think they'll sell many tickets.
I think it's time we take our tickets and take this to a vote.
Great acting, fantastic script, told in a very non-traditional way. See it.
Anonymous is an unfocused mess. It is much ado about nothing. Skip it.
Anonymous is perfect for a rainy day, sitting on the couch with a tub of rich, fancy ice cream. Stream it.
So that's 1.5 tickets, which is a stream it for Anonymous.
Yay, I'm right.
My too sullied flesh is melting.